Ever wonder why a simple client meeting can suddenly feel like a hostage negotiation? Picture this. You are sitting in a sleek, glass-walled conference room,
Mm.
and you have just delivered like the pitch of a lifetime.
Oh, right. The slide deck was completely flawless.
Exactly. The stakeholders were nodding along the whole time. You can literally feel the momentum building in the room. And you're just sitting there happily doing that spreadsheet math in your head, and it is adding up perfectly.
Yeah, you've basically already mentally deposited the commission check, right?
I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah.
But then the lead client just leans back, stares right at you, and says, "We love the proposal, but your price is way out of bounds. Give us a 30% discount, or we're going with your competitor."
Oh, wow. And just like that, the momentum completely dies.
It totally evaporates. That spreadsheet math is gone, and you are suddenly staring down this massive gap in your revenue projection. Your heart rate spikes. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are tackling that universal, really high-stakes challenge of intense price pressure. And our source material for this analysis comes from, well, a surprisingly brilliant place today.
It really is fascinating. We are actually dissecting a script from an English language learning program called Catch Up English.
Yeah.
And it features a native speaker named Sarah coaching a learner named Daniel through a scenario that they have very aptly titled The Client's Discount Nightmare.
Which is such a good title. But to be clear, our mission today is not to practice ESL grammar or, learn vocabulary. We're here to extract the high-level business negotiation tactics.
Right, the deep behavioral economics that are embedded right inside this dialogue.
Exactly. We're going to examine how you transition from what the dialogue calls a panicking, scared seller into a grounded, confident, smart partner. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because I want to look at the underlying mechanics of that terrible silent moment right after a prospect demands a massive discount.
Well, physiologically, that silence triggers a very real response. I mean, in the script, Daniel admits his overwhelming urge is to just yell out, "Okay, please buy it."
Right, just to end the tension in the room.
Exactly. He acknowledges that his boss would be absolutely furious about surrendering the profit margin like that, but, the immediate panic just completely overrides his long-term logic.
And that panic, it isn't just about avoiding an awkward silence, though, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's deeply rooted in the sunk cost fallacy.
Oh, totally. Because by the time you are sitting in that final presentation, you have probably spent weeks on this deal.
Weeks. I mean, discovery calls, proposal drafting.
Internal alignment meetings, the travel to get there.
Yeah, you have invested so much time and energy that the fear of walking away empty-handed, it just completely hijacks your rational business sense.
It really does. When you operate from that place of fear, your rational brain effectively shuts down. You stop negotiating and you basically start surrendering.
Right.
Because if you say yes too fast, well, you bleed money. You undermine your own profitability.
But if you say no too fast, you risk alienating the prospect entirely and just killing the deal.
Exactly. It is a classic lose-lose paradigm if you allow emotion to steer the conversation.
So we need a tangible mechanism to bypass that knee-jerk reaction. Because the reflex to defend your price by just immediately dropping it, it feels almost involuntary.
Yeah, it really does.
Like when someone says you are too expensive, your immediate instinct is to look for ways to make the number smaller just to appease them.
Yeah.
So how do we build a circuit breaker for that reflex?
Well, you have to rely on a framework rather than your instincts. And the script introduces a concept that we can categorize as the quality shield.
The quality shield. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so the fundamental rule here is that when a client challenges your price, your immediate response must never involve discussing money.
Wait, really? Never?
Never. You do not offer small percentage off, and you do not even acknowledge the demand for a cheaper number. You pivot the conversation away from cost and directly toward value.
Okay, so the exact phrase that Sarah teaches Daniel to use in the script is, "Our price reflects the premium quality of the service." Now, in B2B negotiations, a word like premium isn't just marketing fluff, right?
No, not at all. It serves a very specific, tactical, psychological function.
How so?
It acts as a subtle mirror. When you look the prospect in the eye and use the word premium, you are actively reminding them of their own initial requirement.
Oh, right. Because they came to you for a reason.
Exactly. They didn't come to you looking for the bare minimum, duct tape kind of solution. They came looking for an optimal, secure outcome.
So you are politely stating, hey, you asked for an enterprise-grade outcome, which inherently requires an enterprise-grade investment.
Precisely. It is like the difference between hiring a freelancer to quickly design a one-off logo versus, say, retaining a full-service agency for a comprehensive, multi-year brand strategy.
Oh, wow, that is a great analogy. The freelancer is significantly cheaper upfront, obviously.
But the agency builds long-term equity. So by holding up that quality shield, you are reminding them that they asked for the agency. You aren't apologizing for the cost.
Right, you are justifying it with the scope of excellence that they themselves requested.
Exactly. You are completely reframing the narrative in the room. The focus shifts from the immediate friction of spending their budget to the long-term security and reliability of top-tier quality.
Which ties perfectly into another crucial phrase utilized in the dialogue, which is value for money.
Yes, and in a complex business context, value for money translates directly to return on investment.
Right. It means the efficiency, the durability, the ongoing support attached to your service is going to yield a return that far outweighs that initial capital expenditure.
A scared seller treats their offering like a mere commodity, right? Something that can be easily undercut by any competitor with a cheaper spreadsheet.
Yeah, whereas a smart partner knows that their offering solves a complex problem reliably, and they refuse to experience cognitive dissonance about the cost of that reliability.
Because you cannot deliver premium results on a bargain bin budget. And you really shouldn't pretend that you can.
Okay, let's push back on this framework a bit, though,
Sure.
because relying entirely on the quality shield, it assumes the prospect actually has the capital and is merely haggling to test you.
Right.
But what if their budget is genuinely capped? Like, they agree you offer premium quality, they want the agency-level strategy, but their procurement department has just locked their spending limit.
That happens a lot, yeah.
Repeating the word premium isn't going to magically materialize another $50,000 out of thin air. So where do we go from there?
Well, if their budget is an immovable wall, you have to shift the underlying physics of the deal. If the price goes down, the scope must shrink. And this brings us to the script's next phase, which is the give and take. It relies on the if-then rule. The absolute, non-negotiable directive here is that you never, ever give a discount for free.
Here is where it gets really interesting, because this is where you actively test the reality of their demand, right?
Right. By requiring a trade-off, you are essentially auditing their request. You're testing whether they actually need a lower price to get the deal approved, or if they were just fishing for a freebie to look good to their boss.
Precisely. I mean, a negotiation is a balanced scale. If you remove weight from their side, the financial cost, you have to remove weight from your side to maintain equilibrium.
Right, the deliverables, the timeline, the favorable terms. The dialogue gives Daniel very specific tactical phrases for this, like offering a 5% discount in exchange for a larger volume commitment.
In exchange for. I love that. That simple prepositional phrase, it transforms a concession into a transaction.
It really does. You aren't handing them cash out of desperation. They are purchasing a discount from you by altering their commitment to the partnership.
And if they genuinely cannot increase the order volume, you adjust the operational terms instead. Like Sarah suggests offering the lower price, but in return, the shipping schedule is significantly extended.
It is the water balloon effect.
The water balloon effect. Tell me about that.
Well, if you squeeze a water balloon on one end, the water doesn't just vanish, right? It bulges out on the other side.
Oh, right. So if the client squeezes your price, the terms of the agreement have to bulge somewhere else.
Exactly. That might mean slower delivery or fewer rounds of revision, maybe a multi-year contract lock-in, or even requiring full payment up front instead of net 60 terms.
And the reason this is so critical, it extends far beyond just preserving a few percentage points of margin on one specific contract. It protects the integrity of your entire business model.
Not just for this deal, but for all future renewals too.
Right, let's examine that from the buyer's perspective for a second. If I ask a vendor for a 20% price reduction, and they immediately say, sure, we can do that, without asking for a single concession in return.
Your immediate thought is going to be, wow, they were trying to rip me off.
Exactly that.
Right.
My immediate thought is not, what a generous and collaborative partner. I instantly realize that their initial proposal was artificially inflated. I lose all trust in their pricing structure because they just demonstrated that their numbers are entirely arbitrary.
Yeah, and by utilizing that if-then framework and demanding a tangible trade-off, you prove that your pricing is inextricably tied to actual operational realities.
Right. It demonstrates that every dollar in your proposal represents a real-world cost in labor, materials, or risk assumption. You are training the client to respect your boundaries,
while simultaneously preserving their trust in your honesty.
You are showing them that you operate as a peer. I mean, a smart partner collaborates on mutually beneficial solutions, whereas a subordinate just accepts less money for the same amount of work out of a fear of rejection.
Absolutely. But, that naturally brings up an even more extreme scenario.
Okay, what's that?
Well, the give and take framework, it works exceptionally well when both parties are operating in good faith. But what happens when a prospect demands something that defies basic business logic?
Like asking for a 50% discount.
Exactly. They demand a 50% reduction in price without altering the scope of work whatsoever.
Well, this is where my own instinct usually steers me wrong. If a prospect demands half off for the exact same scope, my gut reaction is to just shut the conversation down bluntly. I would want to say, that is completely unworkable, you are wasting my time, we're done here.
It feels like you need to project strength by matching their aggression, doesn't it?
It really does.
The problem with matching their aggression is that it burns a bridge that didn't necessarily need to be burned. The prospect might just be aggressively testing your absolute limits to see if you will fold.
So how does the script handle it?
It strongly advises against bluntness and introduces a much more sophisticated tactical maneuver, which is the soft refusal.
The soft refusal.
Yeah, you establish an immovable boundary, but you do it while maintaining a tone of complete professional warmth.
And the phrase Sarah provides Daniel for this is, I am afraid that is below our cost.
Yes.
And while that sounds like standard, polite corporate dialogue, there is a deep layer of behavioral psychology at play in those words.
What is fascinating here is the introduction of a concept we can call third-party authority, or the invisible bad guy.
The invisible bad guy. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, when you begin with, I am afraid, you are heavily signaling empathy. You are positioning yourself as someone who genuinely wants to accommodate their requests.
But you are being blocked by an external, undeniable force, mathematics.
Exactly. You completely remove your personal agency from the rejection. It is not you saying no to the client, it is the immutable laws of economics saying no.
It is like an airline gate agent pointing to their computer screen when a flight is delayed. They aren't the ones keeping you from flying, the system is.
That is a perfect example. People will argue with other people all day long, but they generally won't argue with a spreadsheet.
Right, you position yourself on the same side of the table as the prospect, looking at the math together, and just lamenting that the math simply doesn't allow for their request.
It is a highly effective way to de-escalate tension. You absorb the blow of their aggressive demand, you neutralize it with empathy, and you point to a structural limitation.
And once you have successfully softened the refusal, you must immediately anchor the conversation with a definitive boundary.
The iron wall.
The iron wall.
This is our best and final offer.
Those words carry a tremendous amount of gravity. Best and final.
They really do. They signal the definitive end of the negotiation phase. It tells the prospect that there is no more room for maneuvering, no more leverage to exploit.
You are clearly communicating that you are firm, you are fair, and you have reached the absolute end of the line.
Because if you don't explicitly close that door, certain procurement teams will simply keep chipping away at you.
Oh, they absolutely will. They will ask for a 5% reduction, then they will ask for waived implementation fees, then they will ask for extended payment terms.
They will continuously test the fence for weaknesses until they hit an electrified wire. You have to be the one to turn on the electricity.
Yeah. Failing to establish that firm bottom line, it doesn't just erode your profit margins, it drains your operational resources. You waste hours, sometimes weeks, going back and forth on a deal that is fundamentally unviable. Setting that boundary protects your most valuable asset, which is your time.
Exactly. So we have charted a pretty remarkable transformation today, pulling these high-level behavioral strategies out of what is ostensibly a language learning script.
We really have. We started in that high-stress conference room where the sunk cost fallacy has you panicking, ready to surrender your margins just to get a signature on a piece of paper.
Operating entirely from a place of reaction and scarcity.
But by dissecting Sarah and Daniel's dialogue, we have outlined a robust, repeatable framework to operate as a smart partner.
Right.
First, when they challenge the price, you don't instantly drop the number. You deploy the quality shield. You pivot to value, framing the conversation around the fact that your price reflects the premium quality.
Reminding them that enterprise-grade requests require enterprise-grade investments. You establish the baseline of worth before engaging in any numerical adjustments.
Second, when you hit a genuine immovable budget constraint, you enter the give and take. You never offer an unearned concession.
Right. You audit their request by utilizing the if-then rule. offering a small adjustment only in exchange for a tangible operational trade-off.
You ensure the scale remains balanced, protecting both your margin and the integrity of your pricing model. And finally, when a demand crosses the line into absurdity, you don't match their aggression.
No, you utilize the soft refusal.
You leverage third-party authority by saying, "I am afraid that is below our cost," blaming the math instead of yourself before dropping the iron wall. This is our best and final offer.
And the script actually concludes with a highly practical application scenario, which serves as a great mental rehearsal for these exact mechanics.
Yes, the homework scenario at the end of the text. So imagine you're selling a piece of heavy equipment or a company vehicle, right? You have it priced at $10,000. A buyer inspects it and offers you $5,000.
A 50% haircut right out of the gate.
Right. This is where you bypass the panic reflex and rely entirely on the framework. The response needs to be immediate, composed, and utilize the exact structure we have explored.
I am afraid that is below our cost, but I can offer a small discount in exchange for a quick payment.
It is incredibly efficient. You utilize the invisible bad guy to reject the absurd offer smoothly, and you immediately pivot to a realistic, reciprocal trade-off.
It perfectly embodies the ultimate lesson here. You have to train your responses so that your business logic kicks in before your panic does.
It requires deliberate practice. These frameworks need to become muscle memory so you can deploy them flawlessly under pressure. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to look slightly beyond the mechanics of the deal itself. We have spent this entire session strategizing on how to defend your margin, how to manage the pressure in the room, and how to successfully close the contract.
Which naturally operates on the assumption that securing the deal is always the optimal outcome.
Right. If the ultimate goal of a smart partner is to establish a long-term relationship built on mutual respect and genuine value for money, what does it mean when a prospect adamantly refuses to participate in that dynamic?
That is a very good question. At what point does a relentless demand for unearned discounts cease being a standard negotiation tactic and start revealing a fundamental incompatibility?
That is exactly the question I want to leave you with today. If you were sitting across from a team that constantly attacks your quality shield, completely rejects the concept of a fair give and take, and blatantly ignores your best and final offer, are you actually fighting to win a valuable client?
Or are you fighting to win a liability?
Exactly. Sometimes the most potent negotiation strategy isn't a clever phrase or a psychological pivot. Sometimes the ultimate best and final offer is simply the quiet, unshakable confidence to pack up your laptop, shake their hand, and walk away from a bad deal.
Because a true smart partner understands that walking away from destructive revenue is just as important as closing the good revenue.
Keep that in mind the next time the momentum stops and you are staring down a 30% gap. You won't feel the need to panic. You will just lean forward, audit the request, and know exactly how to guide the conversation.